Welcome to the Mariposa program. We hope that you find this time beneficial today. These stories that women have shared are truths that most of us know very deeply but rarely voice. We hope that you find the stories to speak to you, as well as if you find that you're needing someone to hear your story, that you know that we are here for you at the Infant Parent Center. Thank you very much.
So what did postpartum feel like for me? It was definitely not a black and white thing. It was a very gray area. It wasn't like, oh, I have postpartum. It was, I felt like I was in a fog every single day. And honestly, I felt like that was just the kind of mom that I am going to be. I was really embarrassed, so I didn't want to ask for help. And I felt like a crazy person. So I just suffered in silence, really. And had I known what I know now, I definitely would not have chosen that route. But even just the daily tasks that I needed to do, clean the house and make dinner, go and get the mail, it was really challenging for me. So that's really what it felt like and looked like for me.
Postpartum was very intense for me. It looked like anxiety, hypervigilance, crying all day, every day. No sleep, irritability, and very dark. I feel like it was very difficult to navigate out, and once I understood that there was other women who had suffered, there seemed to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think friendships and other mothers that were able to just tell me that this period isn't easy and it is very difficult, and in some ways it's normal and nobody tells you that, and the media doesn't reflect that, and this is actually reality. I think I had a very different idea of what motherhood was. At first, I didn't get through it at all. I wasn't coping at all. My husband knew that I was suffering. I refused treatment of any kind. I would go to the doctor and get through my appointments with refusing any treatment and that I'd be fine. So eventually, my husband encouraged me to get outside, to exercise, to eat. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I definitely wasn't exercising. I couldn't figure out how to do any of that. I couldn't figure out how to do anything other than care for my baby. So I took it 1 hour at a time. And some days he would take me to work with him and the baby when we'd go to work with him, just to have somebody make sure that we got fed and that we were in the sunshine. And eventually I was able to do that on my own at home. And it took several months, but eventually I was able to see the light again. And I think the hardest part was just the shame you live with and wishing I had gotten help and protected that newborn time with my baby. I think the most important thing for other women to know is that probably most of the women in your life has felt a degree of what you're feeling now, and that it's not uncommon, and that there is support out there and you're not alone, and you shouldn't be shameful. And the best thing to do is protect the time with you and your infant and your family, and protect that time of bonding, and to do everything you can to take the time for yourself and do self-care. Self-care is important, and we don't do that as mothers. And so showering and exercising and eating and taking a minute to sit outside and read a magazine, those are the things that we need to work on and focus on, and sleep. even if somebody has to hold the baby, just getting some sleep.
At the Infant Parent Center, we talk a lot about the importance of self-care. I often hear about the obstacles, things like, I'm really tired, I don't have the time, I don't have the motivation, I feel selfish. And so I think that, we can often come across the obstacles, but I think that it's so incredibly important that we make it a priority in our life. The more often we are present and patient and available will make parenting easier, and I think our children will feel it. So things like emotional self-care. Are you someone who needs to say no more often? Things like perhaps giving yourself permission to say yes to things that you really want to do. For some people, it might be, going out and taking a run, taking a yoga class, perhaps just meditating and being more present in their lives. And for others, it might be, how to strengthen their spiritual religious practice. And that can be, whatever that means to you. And I think that self-care is really unique. And we all have our own way of making ourselves whole. But I think that really making it a priority in your life is really, really important. And, we know that when we're tired and exhausted and depleted of energy, we're really not helpful to those in our lives. So I hope that maybe today you can just kind of reflect on what are some of the areas that you could strengthen from a physical, emotional, or spiritual self-care practice. And I hope that you can just maybe take one small step to working on that.
When you are in a perinatal period, oftentimes there are many screenings and evaluations that can happen in a doctor's office. And during that time, sometimes those screenings come out where they say something may be different about your baby. And when you get that information, it can be overwhelming. And with that information, what do you do with it? Oftentimes, we have no idea what to do with it. We're just given this information and we're stuck because we had these expectations of what we thought our baby would be. Or now we have to adjust those expectations, not only about our baby, but about our parenting with this baby. And sometimes there's a process that gets overlooked because you're so busy making sure that your child or your baby gets everything they need that oftentimes the professionals will not be able to recognize that the parent has a need. They have to go through a grief and loss process of understanding that this is the baby that we have. And sometimes we have to adjust our parenting to meet those needs, but we can still feel that loss. And so when you have that, don't be afraid to go and get help for you, because one of the big things with having a child with special needs is making sure you get your own self-care, making sure you learn as much as you can, make sure you get your oxygen so you can feed yourself so that you can take care of your child. You can get your thoughts organized so that you can be the advocate your child needs. And you can play that role for your child and feel confident about your role as a parent. And early intervention has been proven time and time again in a lot of research that says it's effective in helping to build a relationship that you want with your child, a long-lasting relationship, no matter their special need.